Have you ever looked at your list of things you want to cover in a school year and thought, how will we get it all done? One of the answers is if you have more than one kid, family studies and morning time. Today I want to share with you a little bit of how our family approaches family studies and what choices we have made for the 2024-2025 school year. Hello and welcome back to Wholehearted Homemaking. My name is Heather, mama to 7, and on this space I share all about homeschooling, homemaking, and motherhood. Today I'm going to dive into our different choices for our family studies. You can see my previous videos for each child's year, and also I have a blog series that shares all of those in much more detail, as will today's. I will not be able to share every book today, as that would take a long time, but it is all written up in a blog post for you to help you find all the information. So let's first tackle that topic of morning time and family studies. What is it? Why do you do it? A lot of times we look at a list of subjects and we think, that's insane, I can't fit all those in, especially if you're a Charlotte Mason homeschooler or you're looking into Charlotte Mason. It's too many subjects, and if you have more than one child, odds are, unless you have your own personal maid and cook and all of those things, you're going to need to combine, because there's no way you can do it with each individual child at their own individual basis. Plus, family studies and morning time help bring you together and grow you closer together as a family. And so I have loved using this, and I have done it when I had only 2 learners all the way up to now. This year we will have 5 school-age children, and I include my younger kids when they wish to. Now, morning time is as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. And I'm going to actually just pass you off and give you another resource to use to learn more about morning time. Pam Barnhill has a wonderful book called Better Together, and also a wonderful website that gives you lots of information. And then Cindy Rollins, Morning Time, A Liturgy of Love, is absolutely essential in my opinion for the homeschooling mama, because not only does she walk you through how to do it, how it worked out in her family, but she also, if you see all these little tabs, that's all resources, because this thing is chock full of resources to use during your morning time. So if you are not doing morning time and would like to start, try this. Check your library, borrow it from a friend, purchase it, because it is worth it and you're going to want all of these goodies. I have found this to be very helpful, especially that she didn't have this yet. I'm not sure what the publication date is. She didn't have this when I first started homeschooling. I used her blog and Pam Barnhill to start, and our morning time and family studies have just kind of morphed since then. I have a lot of learners and we are kind of gung-ho about learning a lot of different subjects, so ours looks different. But when I first started out with morning time, it was simply coming together and we would read our history, and we would read a poem, and we would read a few other things, and that's it. That was our morning time. But it was a time to come together, check off some of those school things all at once, and then go about our day. Now, morning time and family studies have actually become crucial to our learning, especially with our large family. But like I said, I started doing it when I only had 2. Now, I'd go into a little bit more detail, but I'll have more in the future about scheduling, because if you look at my lists, it looks insane, because we don't have just one morning time. I have students that are going to be in forms 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the Charlotte Mason educator, or grades 1, let's see here, 4, 6, 7, and 9. And so because I have such a great big range, and we want to do certain subjects together, but not all subjects need to be done with everyone. My first grader is not going to be reading Plutarch and Shakespeare with us. And so I have what look like ultimately many morning times, but we don't do them every day. When I first started out, we did it morning time every day and everybody was together. Now it looks much different, and like I said, I'll be sharing about my schedule in the future as I finalize a few things. But today I wanted to go through some of the subjects. So there are some subjects that we do all together, teens to toddlers, and now my toddlers don't have to do it with us. They just like to be with us. And that's where I utilize a lot of the resources in here. One specifically that we will be using is that she includes civics questions, which are taken from the American Government Principles of American Democracy, which is adapted from the U.S. citizenship test. And so we go through these and we do those kind of as memorization. And I do that with all of my children. We haven't got very far in it, but we do try to keep that up, because if you need to know those things to become a citizen of our country, I feel like as citizens who are born here, we should know them as well. And so we will be doing that as a family. We will also be doing Book of Marvels, which if you haven't read these are great. They're better kind of for the older kids, but I think my first grader will still get a lot out of it, because we will also be using, there's a wonderful website, and I talk about this more in my geography post about with videos. And then we also use the Juniper Grove Journal to journal it. And so we will be doing that. We will be using Sloyd, paper Sloyd, and introducing this. I have tried twice and just can't quite get myself to stick to it. And so I'm kind of preparing the summer so that way I am better prepared when we start. We will be doing a nutrition as a family. Now this is going to be a little basic for my older student and maybe a little stretching for my youngest student, but I really felt compelled that we do a nutrition study, and so this will be wonderful. My kids have a lot of food allergies and food issues, so they're actually pretty savvy when it comes to a lot of those things, but I wanted them to know a little bit more detail, so we'll be doing that. We'll also be doing Draw the USA, where they are going to basically be trying to draw the entire USA by the end of the school year. And then during our morning time, we will also do our nature study, which we take a lot from Nature Study, a handbook of nature study. And then I have with like just picture books, because I'll read through. This is a good guide for young ones. And I get them from the library. I get them from, we have a big copy of different things. We are going to be doing reptiles, as you can see, this fall, as well as autumn wildflowers, which we will just use whatever is blooming at the time. And we will be doing that. So what you see here for our morning time that all of my kids do, this will probably happen about twice a week, and we won't do all of these subjects every time. It will probably do half of them. And you'll notice a lot of them require paper and pencil and things like that. And so we will do it at the table, which isn't always the picture you get of morning time. And so for us, that's what we will do, that everybody does. That's one of the things that everybody does. And we, like I said, we'll do it once or twice a week. And part of that is because, like I said, a lot of the subjects my youngest one doesn't need to do, or my oldest one doesn't need to join us for. And she actually not only needs to learn on her own because she's in high school, she doesn't need to read the same history books that we are necessarily. And she needs more time to complete her work, but also that is her preferred learning method. And so that's the crux of our morning time that has that. We have another time that we do together, and it's we call it a tea time. And we've done this in the past. We kind of let it go the last year or two, and we're going to start again. And our tea time will include these subjects. Okay, so our tea time is in the afternoon. We're going to come together after our quiet time, and we're going to have we don't always have tea. We have a snack. It may be water and crackers. I mean, it's usually not that bland, but we'll have some kind of snack in the afternoon. My kids can't make it to dinner without one. And so we typically do that most days of the week, not all days of the week. And so again, the goal here is to do this 3 times a week. And so those will include kind of art lessons. Those will be at the end of the tea time. We will break these out. We have used this for a few years, and we just do one a week, one every other week-ish. And my kids can do it on their own now, but these are from Simply Charlotte Mason, and they have these lovely little guides, and my kids just follow along with them and start practicing brush drawing with watercolors. We have tried drawing with children multiple times. You can see I've prepared, I know what I'm doing, and I just don't follow through. So we will be doing that again this year, Lord willing. We will start each tea time with a poetry reading. We have in the past tried to do the 3 poets a year thing, and it just doesn't work out for us. So we're going to stick with Henry Wadsworth. Am I saying it right? Yes, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And then we will, if by the middle of the year we need a different poet, we'll switch out, but we're going to just stick with him. And I have another book by him somewhere, but I can't find it. And so we use this and also the Young Readers Poets Guide for that, and we'll just read a few of those. The other main thing that we'll do at tea time is this is kind of our beauty time, and so we will be doing music. And so we are going to be using the history of classical music, which requires these things, but also it's out of print. Technically it's discontinued, and so we will just be following that guide and going along with it. My kids are pretty knowledgeable about music and composers, but we wanted to kind of get the history of music and get the timeline and all of those things kind of solidified in our head, also the different kinds of instruments and things like that. So we will be using that. On the days that we don't do that, we will listen to our composer, which we will be doing Schumann. And we have a listening guide, but we also have a lovely, from Tilbury Table. We'll be using these guides. So I have Schumann for this fall, and then I have Dvorak for in the spring, and then from Little Beth at Little World Wonders, we're going to be doing Tchaikovsky for the winter. So we're going to do a Nutcracker mini unit during the winter time. That's kind of our plan. Kind of favorites. Here's my kids' poetry book. So this particular series, Poetry for Young People, has some really great books and poems. Oops, I of course opened to it, and it has these like nice little art in it, so I enjoy them. And then the last thing is like folk dancing. We'll do every so often. Folk music we will do during our tea time, as well as, like I said, any composer, and then artist studies as well. And our artist study, we will be doing 3 different artists for the year, which is what we typically do. We just do a term for each one. We will be doing Van Gogh, and then we will be doing, who are we doing? That's a good question. I can't think off the top of my head. And then the last, Henry Osawa Tanner. And then the last term we will be doing the Yuan Dynasty, ancient Chinese art, Japanese? Well, now I'm not sure. Art, and those are from A Humble Place. I don't have those yet. I'll be printing them off. But for Van Gogh, because this is us revisiting an old favorite, we already have a lot of materials. I have the Simply Charlotte Mason prints as well as biography. And then I also have these. I always love the Mike Venezia books. Are they great literature? No, not really. They definitely probably, I don't think Charlotte Mason would be super impressed with them. But my kids love them. And I have used these since I was a grade school teacher. My students always love them. They always have some artwork in them that is real artwork. But then they also have these like comic book pages that are always hilarious. And it just gives a biography in a shortened format. And so we would probably take 2 poetry tea times, maybe 3, to read through this. And my kids always look forward to those. They also have, Mike Venezia has scientists, musicians, and artists, so you can get those. And then I also purchased, because as you can see, what did I get? $6.50. This giant book of Van Gogh prints. But look at them. They're humongous. And they are beautiful quality. And so I do recommend go to your thrift stores, get old calendars. Like when they're out of date, now's a really great time. You can get calendars for this current year or last year on discount, and cut those up, and you get basically free, big, beautiful prints. You can always order prints. Simply Charlotte Mason has great ones. Like I said, we already have them for Van Gogh. I haven't dug them out yet. But I like finding bigger prints because my kids are able to see it a little bit better. Obviously, the book is harder to display because it is so massive, but I do recommend that for artist study. And we can talk more about how to do a picture study another time if you're interested. But those will be our tea time, kind of the beauty loop. And we will also include a chapter from whatever our current read aloud is. I don't have that because it's kind of on the whim of my heart what we choose for our read aloud each time. All right, then I have a few more morning times. And I just call them by their forms right now. Maybe one day I'll come up with a cute little name for each one, but I don't have it. And so I have these different family studies that only require portions of the family because of their ages and what they're learning. And so the biggest one that we have to do the most often is the one that is forms 1, 2, and 3. So that's when we're gonna have like basically a morning time without my oldest. And that is going to focus on some of these more specific topics like geography. And so, like I said, in my geography post, we'll be doing a general geography kind of overview with my kids from following along with Mater and Mabelis. Excuse me, they have free guides, and they utilize these books by Barbara Taylor, which are also out of print, I believe. I found them cheap, used, but these are going to help my kids kind of get that overview of some of the different geography terms and what it really looks like and means, because I feel like that's one thing we've lacked in geography. And so we will do geography together during that time. We will be doing Spanish. We're going back to Cherrydale Press. I know I have lamented on social media that I did not enjoy this a few years ago, and I've done other things since, but we're going to give it another shot. I have older students and readers now, and so I feel like we can utilize this a little bit better. My problem with it is not how it teaches it, but the particular choices it uses for vocabulary, because it feels like it introduces a lot of not useful phrases right at the beginning. And so the whole point was to have phrases that your children use right away. My kids aren't able to use a lot of the sentences that they introduce at first. So I think my kids have enough basic vocabulary now that we can introduce this and then make it work for us. So we're going to give it another shot. We have it. Why not? The other main thing, so it's going to be geography and Spanish. And then the only other thing we do together is history. But as you know, that's kind of a big part of our school. And we have multiple history streams that we all do. And so we'll rotate it as we go through. And this will be 2 to 3 times a week. Like I said, I'm still finalizing the schedule, but we will have church history. We'll be doing Trial and Triumph, which we have read before, love. And some of the readings are real short. Some of them are longer. Some of them may take 2 times. If you have a sensitive child, I do recommend pre-reading it. But like I said, we love it. Then I have let's do ancient history. Ancient history, we're going to be doing Roman history kind of. We no longer make ancient history a whole year or a whole focus. We lost a lot of time in our homeschooling that way, and not that it's terrible, but it wasn't what we really needed to be spending our time on. And so it will be more overview. And so I really like this one because she has really short kind of chapters that my kids actually really related and remember really well. Like my kids still can tell me from I think 2 or 3 years ago about how Rome was founded and the mythology of the wolves and the brothers. And so it's very well written. My kids responded well to this. Some people don't like it. It's up to you. Another choice is Augustus Caesar's World by Genevieve Foster, and I like that too. And I really had a hard time debating, but it's like, you know what? I'm really familiar with this. I enjoyed it. The kids did well with it. This is what we're going to do. Because my 2 youngest learners were not with us when we did that. Well, I mean, they were with us, but they weren't focused. And then we have world history. And world history, we are using our world and American history are kind of getting all mixed up because we are going into the 19th century. And so it's a little here, there, and everywhere. And so I've got all of that for you. So this is what we're going to start out with, which is the horseless carriage. A lot of people don't use this, and I'm not really sure why. I pre-read it, and it was wonderful. I really appreciate Genevieve Foster's books, the artistry in it. I feel like you can use that to help with your book of centuries. They're fairly short chapters. This is actually longer chapters, I think, than her other ones. You can get just a quick overview, though, of what's going on. So we're going to go through this one pretty quick, and then we will move on to Abraham Lincoln's World. And this one is out of print and incredibly hard to get for a reasonable price, but I do believe it's worth it. And I'll just give you a quick, so each heading is like based around Abraham Lincoln's life, but if you look through, you can see that this is not all things that are happening in America, because we have like, for when he was born, we're also going to be reading about Napoleon and the next emperor and Mississippi and the Rockies and Venezuela and Andrew Jackson and the War of 1812 and 1812 in South America, and then back to Moscow and what it was like. And so it's centered around Abraham Lincoln's life, but it is what is going on in the world during his life. And we used George Washington's World last year, and it was a wonderful kind of overview of history, and so we'll be doing that with this as well. And then for a more focused American history, we will be finishing up This Country of Ours. I have been told that the new one by Donna Breckenridge is like 20 times better, but she doesn't have part 2 out. And as you can see, we are at the very end, so we need part 2 of hers. So once that's out, we'll be updating this. The Living Book Press is a beautiful printing. It's just in its traditional, and then Donna Breckenridge one has some modern updates of terminology. Usually I just use that as a talking point, but it would be nice to not have to use that as a talking point. Well, there's that. And then every now and then, I won't be doing every story in here, but my youngest reader will be working through the American story, and we will just kind of, I like them because they have the pictures, they're short, but they also, oh, that's Johnny Appleseed. Sorry, we live in Indiana, which is one of his states. And so we love Johnny Appleseed here. And so we will be reading these short stories every now and then. This will not be a regular one, but I like adding it in. I wasn't super impressed with the writing, but my little one liked it last time that we used it, so we'll do that again this time. So that's our main kids. So I did morning time, which is everybody, tea time, which is everyone. None of them are every day. Then I have my first, second, and third form students, which is first, fourth, fifth, sixth students, so not the high schooler. And they were all together 2 or 3 times for history. What was it? History, geography, and Spanish. And then I have 2 other times, if you can believe it. I know, I'm so sorry. But then next one is for just my second and third form students. So that would be 4th, 5th, and 6th is Form 2. So I have 2 in that one. And then Form 3 is grade 7 and 8. And I have one of those. So I have 3 students. So knocking off the littlest one and the oldest one are not in this group. It's just the middles. And that will include their grammar and their science. Technically, my Form 3 student, I could move her up to a Form 3. That's too many things for me about. So she's going to do the Form 2 science with them. And we will be doing Sabbath Mood. And I will share more about Sabbath Mood in a upcoming video. But we like these for helping us get into our science readings. And also because it keeps me up on the practical things. You can view her guides online at sabbathmoodhomeschool.com. And if you go, they have a supply list so you can kind of gauge whether or not you can afford to do the lab work. You could easily skip all the lab work and just do the readings and stuff. But you do want the guide as well as the book, because the guide not only tells you what to read, but it has extra things. Because almost none of the books are from a Christian perspective. And so, not that it would matter too much in this one, but in the biology, botany, things like that, she will add in astronomy, she will add in Christian perspective into her guides that you can do. It has the science experiments. A lot of them are things you can do just at home. And then she also includes a lot of QR codes that have like a video or an extension activity that you can do. So I highly recommend the guide. It's $15 to get it yourself and print it off. So it's reasonable. And I don't remember, I think it's $25 to buy it bound. So again, also reasonable. We've done both. It works either way. Or you could just leave it digital. We tried that one year. I'm not a digital person. But I wanted to show you inside. You have a teacher. Each week you'll have the teacher prep. Now when you get to different grade levels, it doesn't have it by week, but Form 2 does have it by week. And so you'll have all your materials and things you need to do as the teacher. And then each week has 3 lessons, and that will include their nature lore in one of them. I have all my kids do their own nature lore on their own, so they don't, since we do this together, they do that on their own. And then it'll have like a special activity, and sometimes we do it and sometimes we don't. And then it'll have a natural history, and that's going to be what you're actually reading. It has like a little note, and then you're going to ask the child to narrate. It will have a option for what you can have them do in the afternoon or another activity. And then they will have an activity or experiment almost every week. It'll cost something, yes. Are they all things that I have just lying around the house? Yeah. So this one is very affordable. And so we will be talking about physics and waves. And then next term we'll be doing physics and energy, which is an electricity focus. And then we will be ending with botany. And so we just do these together. They really don't take very long. These readers, the first book of series it does a really good job of doing it quick and short. It's not the most thrilling read. Not gonna lie, it's not very thrilling, but my kids can all narrate and tell me what's going on, and like you can see that it's pretty dated, but we actually do really enjoy it. This is from Living Library Press, so you can get a decent quality print. And so we'll be doing science together, and then grammar. And I've shared before, we use, I think it's first grammar lessons. You can find it at CM Simple Languages, I believe. I'll put a box below because I don't remember. I printed it out back years ago when it was free. It's about $5 now. And it's just going through some basic grammar lessons. We do it all together. And then we've added in this. This is Word Roots Beginning. We are not doing Latin. We are stepping away from Latin this year, and we are replacing it with this because really this is what I want for my kids. If they have an interest in Latin, we will return, but right now they don't, and it's a little more brain power than I am able to do at the moment. And this, however, I was looking through as it came in the mail just today. My kids don't really remember how to do. I don't know that any of them have done worksheets. So this will be an interesting growing experience as we go through here and learn about roots and suffixes and prefixes a tiny bit. And so that's what I'll be doing for my Form 2 and Form 3 students. Then have one more grouping that we do at a time together, but it is not with it. My little kids, it used to be less, or I used to have less kids. My fourth child is in grade 4 now, and so she will be joining us for 2 subjects that she had not previously done, and that would be Plutarch, which I don't have the book here, and I'm sorry I could not find it, but it is, we do the simpler version. It's still a tricky read, but we do Plutarch's Lives for Boys and Girls. I was very much struggling with it. I have since gone back and can do the North's translation of Plutarch. I don't think it's worth the effort in my family because I want them to have the exposure. It wasn't worth the battle. And so we are going to continue with Plutarch's Lives for Boys and Girls, and we'll just do probably just 2 lives. That's about as much as we can manage in a year. And we break those into smaller pieces. I do try to pre-read them in order to do that, but the reason we do it is because it is a kind of a form of citizenship study, because you're looking at these other rulers and how they lived and what was important about their lives and what they did right, what they did wrong, what they were strong in, what they were weak in, and it gives a lot of good discussion opportunities. And I found Plutarch's Lives for Boys and Girls to be a good middle ground, because it is still a challenging text, but it is a little bit simpler to understand what is going on and to break it into smaller pieces for my children, and they do very well with narrating that. The other thing we will be doing is Shakespeare, and we aim for 3 a year. That just never happens, so we're going to aim for 2 and hope for a 3rd, but we will be doing Caesar since we are doing ancient Rome studies, so this will add kind of to our history as well. But we will be doing Caesar and then Twelfth Night or What You Will, and I like to give them a comedy. And honestly, we've only really done the comedies, romance comedies, until this last year. We did our first serious one. This is our first history. And so we're trying to build up our Shakespeare stamina. It's not that we don't enjoy it. My kids love Shakespeare. They love it. I give them each a copy and let them read from it. We assign parts. We get serious. We assign the parts and they read it. It even went so far as to count lines for Hamlet to make sure that everybody had equal lines. I mean, they're kind of divas about this. And so we enjoy it, but it's one of those things that often gets pushed to the back burner, Shakespeare and Plutarch, because it was less kids. And so we are working on making that more of a priority. And we did really well with our Shakespeare last year, but we enjoy it. If you are struggling, start with those comedies because they are winners. My kids have recognize Shakespeare quotes in other places. I could go on and on about Shakespeare, but this is already a lengthy video, so I'll stop. But Plutarch and Shakespeare are for only forms 2, 3, and 4, which starts at 4th grade. You could definitely do those older. We choose to go ahead around 4th grade and add them in, and I've seen no problems with them. We don't do a lot of written narrations or anything like that with it, which is just an oral narration. Trying to keep it simple for those ones because they already have their plates quite full. So as you can see, this is a very big, lengthy feast, and we don't do any of those every day. This is once a week. Some of the morning times are once a week. Some of them are multiple times a week. I'll share more about our schedule later this year, but we took that simple morning time and then broke it up to make it work for more subjects for more of our family is kind of how we did that. If you have any questions, please let me know. Don't hesitate to ask. I know I make things really complicated and confusing, and morning time doesn't have to be that way. You can just grab a stack of books and say, okay, all right, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna do these books. This is what we're doing. And that's how we started out, and ours has just grown from there because it's a time that I love. I love having them all together to learn together. But if you want more information, any more, head to the blog. I share in detail and link every title that I can, as well as we'll answer any questions here or on the blog, or hit me up on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed day. Let us go forth and strive to serve our families and the Lord wholeheartedly.